Hello and welcome to AP Calculus BC. I am Mrs. Tomalesky and I look forward to working with you and your students this school year. So a little bit about me. This is my 17th year teaching. This is my 4th year at Mast. I actually started here when the current seniors were freshmen. And I had a lot of them when they were freshmen, so it's wonderful to have them for a second time in this class. I received my Bachelor of Science in Math from Rampo College, and I am currently pursuing my Master's in Math Education. Besides AP Calc BC, I also teach geometry, pre-calculus, and pre-calc calc. If you need to get in touch with me, you can email me at katomaleski@ctamc.org. So supplies that students need for this class, I suggest a 3-ring binder. For most sections, I make note sheets for the students, which if they had me for geometry, they would remember. So a 3-ring binder helps keep all that organized. In terms of remote learning, I still send them the note sheets, but they would have to print them out themselves. So if that's an issue, it's not an issue. In terms of note taking, they would just have to use something else to take notes. So in that situation, if they wanted to use a regular notebook instead, that's perfectly fine. I just suggest the 3-ring binder if they're going to keep the note sheets and organize them. And if and when we go back to school, they would be getting those note sheets. Obviously, they need pencils and pens, loose leaf paper, again, if they're using the 3-ring binder. I also suggest colored pencils because a lot of times we put graphs on top of each other and it's just easier to look at them if you use different colors. So it doesn't have to be colored pencils. They could use different colored pens or anything like that. Colored pencils was the easiest thing to think of. So, and then also they all should have a graphing calculator that they borrowed last school year, and then we'll continue to use it this school year. So if you look at the screen on the right-hand side, you would see that calculator that they borrow for 2, or if they're juniors, 3 school years. It just follows them from pre-calc calc, they receive it, and then through graduation. And then on the left-hand side is the textbook that you should have in your house. That is our textbook that we use. It's more of I would say, a reference than anything else because I usually make my own resources. I don't usually take stuff out of the book, although they could have some work out of the book as well. Online resources that we will use, we obviously use Google Classroom and then everything that kind of goes along with that. So Meet, slides, things like that. Other things that we may or may not use, Flipgrid, quizzes, Kahoot, and then probably the most important one being what's called AP Classroom. A lot of their first assignments are coming right off of AP Classroom, but what's great about that, it's the College Board's website and all of our AP problems, because really we're working toward an AP test. The resources on that AP Classroom website are really good in terms of being at the same level of difficulty as they will encounter on their AP exam. So this class, the way that it's going to run, well, first of all, what's a little bit different for them is that this is a class that runs every day. So they have math every single solitary day, which they're not used to. So that takes a little bit getting used to. But the way that I run the class is we do a flipped classroom. The traditional classroom is the students learn a lesson in class and then go home and do homework. When we flip the classroom, what's going to happen is they're going to take notes at home and then they're going to come in and do problems and activities. What's good about that is that when they have a problem with a question or something like normally on what would be normal homework, there's usually not really anybody to ask for help. So when we flip the classroom, they're doing all that practice in class, and I'm there to support them. So they have somebody to ask their questions right away. So that's why we use flipped classroom instead. And it actually is pretty nice because the lessons usually aren't too long. So they're watching a video for like 15 or 20 minutes and just taking notes, and that's really what their homework is going to be. And then they just come into class and we can start right away by doing problems. We try to use a variety of resources to keep the students engaged and really kind of in charge of their own learning. So again, all those online resources. If we were in class, we would be doing a few more hands-on, like kind of discovery type things too. It's a little bit harder to do out when we're in the remote learning environment. And then assessments, will have some projects and some writing assignments. The writing assignments, I say writing assignments, it's more like explaining their work and things like that, because that's what they have to do on the AP exam. So they have to get used to being able to write about math. And then they will have online assessments in terms of like tests and quizzes and things like that. So things that are more traditional. The grading is the same as it always is in math classes. Every year they have had the same grading. So 60% major, 30% minor, 10% daily. Daily was usually homework, but obviously with this flipped classroom, they're not having traditional homework. So their daily is like the gimme part of the grade, because it's really just making sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're completing things as opposed to things being correct. So that's the easy part of their grade. And then obviously minor would be quizzes, and then shorter like assessment. They have they should know from Mr. Barnes would always give them problem sets last year. I do similar, except I call them AP sets because they're actual AP problems, and those would be in that minor category. And eventually they'll start getting one of those a week to get them really prepared for the AP exam. Again, because that's our major goal here, is to have them prepared and then hopefully do well on the AP exam. And then your major assessments, or your major category, is like your tests and bigger projects and longer term assessments. So all the kids are part of Google Classroom. As a guardian, you could join if you'd like to. The join code is on your screen. I try to keep PowerSchool as updated as possible. So for the most accurate view of how your student is doing, checking PowerSchool would be good for that. And then obviously if you have any questions or anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. The best way to reach me is by email. Again, my email address is katomaleski@ctemc.org. And again, I look forward to working with you and your students, and I hope we have a wonderful school year.